I found my wife's burner phone wedged between our mattress and box spring at 2:50 a.m. on a Tuesday, and the first message I read made my stomach drop through the floor. Can't wait to feel you inside me again tomorrow. Room 412, same hotel. My hands shook as I scrolled through months of texts, each one more explicit than the last. Pictures, videos, detailed accounts of what they'd done in hotel rooms across downtown Portland while I thought Jessica was working late at the marketing firm. The phone slipped from my fingers onto our cream-colored duvet, the one we'd picked out together at Pottery Barn 3 years ago when we bought this house. Jessica stirred beside me, her blonde hair splayed across the pillow, completely oblivious. She looked peaceful, innocent even. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake her awake and demand answers. Instead, I carefully picked up the phone, walked to my office, and started taking screenshots of everything. Because that's who I am. Ryan Mitchell, 34-year-old financial analyst, the guy who reads the fine print, who backs up his computer files religiously, who plans for every contingency. The boring husband who apparently wasn't exciting enough for his wife of 6 years. The affair partner's name was Blake Thompson, according to the contact info. I pulled up LinkedIn on my laptop with trembling fingers. There he was, Blake Thompson, regional sales director at the same company where Jessica worked. 42 years old, divorced, with the kind of jawline that probably photographed well in his professional headshots. His smile looked practiced, confident. The smile of a man who had no problem sleeping with married women. I spent the next 3 hours going through every message, every photo, every sickening detail of their 5-month affair. They'd started at a company conference in Seattle back in March. One drink led to another, Jessica had written. I couldn't help myself. March. 5 months ago, we'd celebrated our 6th anniversary in April. I'd taken her to that French restaurant she loved, bought her diamond earrings I couldn't really afford. She'd cried and told me she was the luckiest woman alive. Then she'd met Blake at the Marriott downtown 3 days later and done things with him that she'd stopped doing with me years ago. The sun started rising around 5:30 a.m. I heard Jessica's alarm go off in the bedroom, followed by the familiar sounds of her morning routine. Shower running, hairdryer buzzing, the coffee maker gurgling downstairs. I sat at my desk staring at my laptop screen, at the folder now containing 247 screenshots, and tried to figure out my next move. Ryan, you up already? Jessica appeared in the doorway of my office, wearing her gray pencil skirt and white blouse. Work clothes. The same outfit she'd worn in one of the photos on the burner phone, except in that picture the blouse was unbuttoned and Blake's hands were... Couldn't sleep, I said, surprised at how normal my voice sounded. Big presentation today. She walked over and kissed the top of my head. I could smell her perfume, the same scent I'd bought her for Christmas. You'll do great. You always do. The casual affection felt like a knife twisting in my gut. How could she stand there and touch me like nothing was wrong? How could she look at me with those blue eyes and smile when she'd spent yesterday afternoon in bed with another man? What time will you be home tonight? I asked. Probably around 7. We have that strategy meeting that usually runs long. She checked her reflection in the window, adjusting her hair. Don't wait on dinner for me. Strategy meeting. Is that what we're calling it now? I pulled up the burner phone messages on my laptop after she left. Sure enough, there it was. Tuesday 5:30, room 412. Wear the black lingerie. She wasn't even trying to be creative with her lies anymore. I called in sick to work, something I'd done maybe twice in the past 5 years. Then I sat down and started making a plan. First, I needed to secure our finances. We had a joint checking account, joint savings, joint everything. I opened my banking app and transferred half of our savings into a new individual account at a different bank. $32,000. Not enough to feel good about, but enough to survive on while I figured things out. Next, I called 3 different divorce attorneys. The first 2 couldn't see me until next week. The third, a woman named Patricia Winters, had a cancellation and could meet me at 2 p.m. that afternoon. "What's the nature of your case?" her receptionist asked. "Infidelity," I said. The word tasted bitter. "I have documentation." "Ms. Winters will want to see everything you have. Bring copies, not originals." I spent the next few hours printing screenshots, organizing them chronologically, creating a timeline of the affair. March 15th, first messages. March 18th, first hotel meeting. Then twice a week, sometimes 3 times. Always at the same Marriott downtown. Always room 412. Blake must have had some kind of arrangement with the hotel. Corporate rate, maybe. The irony wasn't lost on me. Jessica's company was probably paying for the room where she destroyed our marriage. At 1:45 p.m., I drove to Patricia Winters' office in downtown Portland. The building was newer, all glass and steel, the kind of place that charged premium rates. I didn't care. I wanted the best. Patricia was in her 50s with sharp gray eyes and a no-nonsense handshake. She gestured to a leather chair across from her desk. "Tell me everything," she said, pulling out a legal pad. So I did. The glass of Pinot Grigio sat sweating on our kitchen counter, condensation pooling around its base. I'd printed the photos at Staples during my lunch break. 12 glossy 8x10s that cost me $43. Money well spent. Jessica was running late. Traffic on the FDR, she'd texted. "Be home by 7. It was 7:23 now. I'd arranged the photos in chronological order across the granite countertop. The progression told its own story. Photo 1. Jessica and Derek Lawson at the start of his farewell party, standing a respectful distance apart near the conference room entrance. Photo 3. Derek's hand on her lower back during the group shot. Photo 7. Their heads tilted together, laughing at something on his phone. Photo 12. The hug that lasted 3 seconds too long, her arms wrapped around his neck, his hands splayed across her back, both of them with their eyes closed like they were savoring something. Derek Lawson, the creative director who'd been with the firm for 8 years. Married. 2 kids in private school in Westchester. Moving to their London office for a exciting new opportunity. The party had been last Friday at the office. I'd offered to come. Jessica had laughed and said it would be boring. Just work people doing work things, drinking cheap wine and telling stories I wouldn't understand. She'd come home at 10:47 p.m. smelling like wine and wearing fresh lipstick. The photos had arrived in my inbox Monday afternoon. Subject line: Derek's farewell, what a night. Sent by Melissa Chang, the office manager, to the entire marketing department distribution list. Jessica had forgotten I was still on it from when I'd helped coordinate the company picnic 2 summers ago. I'd scrolled through all 43 photos twice before I found them. The ones that mattered. Then I'd gone back through Jessica's phone. The real one this time, not a burner. I'd gotten sloppy after the Blake Thompson situation resolved itself. Trusted too much. Again. The messages with Derek went back 7 months. Nothing explicit. Nothing I could screenshot and wave around as proof. Just familiar. Inside jokes about clients. Complaints about their boss phrased like shared secrets. A photo of a sunset from his office window with the caption, "Wish you were here to see this." Her response? A wine glass emoji and soon. Lots of soon. The key turned in the lock at 7:31. "God, what a day!" Jessica called out, dropping her bag by the door. "The Peterson account is imploding and Rachel is absolutely useless." She stopped when she saw me standing in the kitchen, the photos spread out like evidence at a crime scene. "What's all this?" I picked up her wine glass. I'd poured it 20 minutes ago, let it breathe, and held it up. I wanted to make a toast. "Ryan, I'm exhausted. Can we—" To Derek Lawson. I tapped the glass against the first photo, the one where they stood apart, professional. The clink echoed in our kitchen. And his exciting new opportunity in London. Her face did something complicated. Okay, that's weird. I moved to the second photo, clinked the glass against it. Two office friendships that look so warm. Ryan, third photo, clink. To inside jokes I'm not part of. You're being ridiculous. But her voice had that quality now, the one I'd learned to recognize. Defensive, preparing her exits. Fourth photo, clink. To all those late nights finishing presentations. We work together. We're colleagues. Jesus Christ, are you seriously doing this because of some party photos? Fifth photo. Derek's hand on her back. Clink. To appropriate workplace boundaries. Stop it. Sixth photo. Clink. Ryan, stop. Seventh photo. Their heads together, intimate. Clink. To 7 months of wish you were here and soon. The color drained from her face. You went through my phone. I'm still on the office distribution list. Eighth photo. Clink. Melissa Chang sends her regards. There's nothing, we never... She was fumbling now, words tripping over each other. Derek is married. He's my colleague. We're friends. Ninth photo. Clink. Professional friends. 10th photo. Clink. You're being paranoid. After everything with Blake, you're seeing things that aren't... I raised the glass higher, moved to photo 11. To the boring husband who apparently needs to be more understanding. That's not fair. Photo 12. The hug. The one that mattered. I pressed the glass against it hard enough that the photo slid across the granite. To Derek's going-away gift. The one you gave him in the supply closet at 9:23 p.m. while everyone else was in the conference room doing karaoke. Her mouth opened, closed. How did you... Building security footage. Turns out I'm friendly with Carl, the night guard. We talk about the Met sometimes when I pick you up from late nights. I hadn't actually seen the footage, couldn't get access, but her face told me I'd guessed right. He remembers you and Derek, says you were in there for 11 minutes. We were talking. He was upset about leaving and I clinked the glass against the photo one more time. Hard. To fumbling your denials until the glass slipped. Or I let it slip. Either way, it shattered against the granite, Pinot Grigio splashing across the photos, across the counter, across the floor. Shards of crystal glittering under our pendant lights like tiny accusations. Jessica jumped back. Jesus! Oops. I looked at the mess. At her. Fumbled it. You're insane. You know that? You're actually insane. She was backing toward the hallway. Derek is married. I'm married. We're colleagues who are friends, and you're making it into something sick because you can't get over your own paranoia. The supply closet, Jessica. We talked. That's what people do. They talk. Not everything is some sordid affair. I pulled out my phone, opened the Photos app, started scrolling. You're right. Not everything is an affair. Sometimes it's just an emotional connection that crosses lines. Sometimes it's just 7 months of inappropriate intimacy that never quite becomes physical because you learned your lesson with Blake. There's no lesson because there's nothing to learn. Derek is gone now anyway, so whatever sick scenario you've built in your head, it's over. Oh, I know it's over. I found what I was looking for. The screenshot of her calendar. The farewell gift I got him should make that pretty clear. She stopped, backing away. What? That Mont Blanc pen set you bought. The one you had engraved with his initials. $340. I saw the credit card charge. Really thoughtful. That was from the whole team. It was in your car trunk, in a gift bag with a card signed just from you. I'd found it Sunday morning when I was loading groceries. The card had read, "For all the words we never said." J. Where is it? I fumbled it. I met her eyes. Into the trash compactor at my office building. Monday morning. It's probably in a landfill in New Jersey by now. Her face went white, then red. You had no right. Funny thing about rights. I pocketed my phone. I also had no right to take screenshots of all those texts. No right to download the photos from the party. No right to make a timeline of every late night and business trip and team meeting that coincided with Derek's schedule. You're sick. No right to create a little presentation. Nothing fancy, just PowerPoint. I'm not creative like you. Documenting the whole thing. I paused. Definitely no right to email it to HR this morning. The silence that followed was profound. You didn't. CC'd your boss too, and Derek's wife. Found her on Facebook. She seems nice. Loves posting about their kids. I hadn't actually done it yet. The email was drafted, sitting in my outbox, waiting. But the look on Jessica's face was worth the bluff. Probably getting some interesting emails right about now. Ryan, please tell me you didn't... Oh, and I got creative with the photos. Remember how I took that Photoshop class last year? You said it was a waste of time. I pulled up my phone again, showed her the screen. Turns out I learned some useful skills. The image showed Jessica and Derek from photo 12, the hug, but I'd edited it. Nothing explicit, nothing pornographic. Just suggestive. Their clothes slightly disheveled. The background changed to somewhere more private. Text overlay. When your colleague gives you a proper send-off. I'd made 6 variations, each one more damning than the last. You're bluffing, but her voice shook. Am I? I started swiping through them. I made them into memes. Thought the office might appreciate the humor. That Monday feeling when your work wife's husband finds out. Farewell parties hit different. Really captures the spirit of workplace camaraderie, don't you think? If you send those, already sent. Another lie, but a useful one. Whole office chain. Should be making the rounds right about now. She lunged for my phone. I stepped back, glass crunching under my shoes. Patricia says we'll need to discuss asset division. I pocketed the phone. The house, the cars, the savings. She thinks we should start with the party favors, though. Those little silver picture frames you bought for Derek's party. 60 of them, $8 each. You kept the extras in the hall closet. This is insane. I'm keeping them. Patricia says I'm entitled to the party favors in the divorce. Jessica stared at me. Really looked at me, maybe for the first time in months. There's no divorce. Nothing happened with Derek. Nothing physical. We're friends who what? Who wished things were different? Who counted down the days until his wife and kids moved to London ahead of him? Who spent 11 minutes in a supply closet saying goodbye? We talked. I'm sure you did. I started gathering the wine-soaked photos, glass shards clinging to them. I'm also sure HR is going to want to talk too, about appropriate workplace relationships, about the optics of a senior creative director and a junior account manager spending quite so much time together, about what it looks like when married employees develop these friendships. You're destroying my career over nothing. No, Jessica, I'm just fumbling my way through this, like you fumbled your toast at Derek's party. Melissa mentioned that in her email. How you got all emotional and choked up thanking him for his mentorship. How you talked about the special glow working with him gave you. She'd gone very still. Office romance glow, that's what I said. It was a joke about the team. Funny joke. I dropped the photos in the trash. Almost as funny as these memes. My phone buzzed. Then again. And again. I pulled it out. Emails. From HR. From Patricia. From a number I didn't recognize. I'd actually done it. Sometime in the last 3 minutes, while we'd been talking, the scheduled send I'd set up had triggered. The email had gone out. All of it. Jessica saw my face. What? I showed her the screen. The sent message. The replies already coming in. Her legs seemed to give out. She sat down hard on the kitchen floor, right in the pudding of wine and glass shards, and started to cry. I stepped over her carefully, heading for the bedroom. "Ryan, please. HR wants to meet tomorrow at 9, I called back. "You should probably prepare a statement. Patricia says I should prepare for asset division. She's very thorough." I closed the bedroom door on her sobbing and pulled out the box I'd hidden in my closet. The party favors. 60 silver frames, still in their packaging. Patricia was right. I was keeping them. All of them. The scheduled email had gone out at 8:47 p.m. I watched the timestamp refresh on my laptop, my finger still hovering over the mouse. Too late to recall. Not that I would have. Jessica's phone started buzzing at 8:51 p.m. She was still on the floor where she'd collapsed, mascara streaking down her face, surrounded by broken glass from the wine glass I'd shattered against the counter. The silver picture frames, all 60 of them, sat in neat rows on the dining room table behind her. I'd spent the afternoon arranging them, each one a perfect reminder of what I was taking in the divorce. Her phone buzzed again. Then again. A rapid-fire sequence that meant group chat, probably the office-wide distribution list I'd somehow managed to access through her laptop while she was working late last week. Funny how she never logged out of anything at home. Trusted me completely. "Ryan," her voice cracked. "What did you send?" I pulled up the sent items folder on my screen, angling the laptop so she could see. The subject line read, "Regarding Derek Lawson's departure, important clarification." The body of the email contained 12 photos. Not the manipulated ones I'd threatened her with. I'm not actually stupid enough to create revenge porn, even fake revenge porn. No, these were the real photos from the farewell party, but I'd arranged them chronologically and added helpful timestamps and captions. 7:43 p.m. Initial greeting, note hand placement. 8:15 p.m. Third drink, increased physical contact. 9:02 p.m. Conversation in corner, exclusionary body language. 9:47 p.m. Extended embrace, duration approximately 8 seconds. And so on. 12 photos, each one progressively more damning in context, even though individually they could have been explained away. Together, arranged with timestamps and clinical observation notes, they told a story. The story I wanted HR to see. The final image was the $340 Mont Blanc pen, shattered on our kitchen floor. Caption: Gift purchased for departing colleague. Personal funds, joint account. "You're insane," Jessica whispered. "Those photos don't prove anything. We were at a party. People hug at parties." "You're right." I closed the laptop. "They don't prove anything. That's kind of the point." Her phone buzzed again. She grabbed it, hands shaking, and I watched her face go white as she scrolled through the responses. The first one was from her boss, Melanie Garrett. "Jessica, please see me first thing Monday morning." Then from HR Director Ronald Pierce. "Ms. Mitchell, Mr. Lawson, please respond to confirm receipt of this message. We'll need to schedule individual meetings." Then from Derek himself, a separate text. "What the hell did you do? My wife just called me screaming. She's on the email chain." I hadn't known Derek's wife worked for the same parent company, different division. That was just good luck. "His wife," Jessica said, looking up at me. "You sent this to his wife." "I sent it to the office distribution list. Not my fault if his wife happens to work for Brightpoint Media Group." I picked up one of the silver frames from the table, examined it. "These are nice, by the way. Real silver." I had them appraised this afternoon. $42 each, times 60. That's $2,520 in party favors. Patricia says I can claim them as marital assets I'm retaining. "You can't." She stood up, wobbling slightly, stepping over the broken glass. "Those aren't yours. They were for Derek's party." "Were they?" I set the frame down carefully. "Because I don't see Derek here to claim them. And they're in my house. Our house. Marital property. I've already photographed each one and documented them for the asset division. Her phone rang. She looked at the screen, then at me. That's Melanie, I said. Your boss. You should probably answer. She didn't move. The call went to voicemail. Immediately, another call came through. Different number. And that's probably Ronald from HR, I continued. They're going to want to hear your side of things, your explanation for why you and a married coworker were quite so affectionate at his farewell party, why you purchased him an expensive gift with joint marital funds, why you never mentioned any of this to your husband. There's nothing to explain. But her voice had no conviction. We were friends, that's all. 7 months of texts suggest otherwise. I pulled out my phone, opened the screenshots. Want me to read some of my favorites? You make the boring days bearable. Can't believe you're actually leaving. I'll miss our lunches more than you know. Those are just friendly, I suggested. Collegial, professional. I scrolled further. How about this one? Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we'd met before. Before what, Jessica? Before you married me? Before he married his wife? She sank back down, not on the floor this time, but into one of the dining room chairs. Her phone kept buzzing. Text messages now, probably the office group chat exploding with speculation. Nothing happened, she said quietly. With Derek. I swear to you, nothing physical ever happened. I know. She looked up, surprised. I know nothing physical happened, I repeated. The security footage I mentioned? I was bluffing. There is no footage of you in any supply closet. I checked with building security. Those cameras don't cover that area. Then why? Because I needed to see your reaction. And you know what? You didn't deny it fast enough. You thought about it for 3 seconds before you said nothing happened. 3 seconds where you were trying to remember if maybe something did happen that could have been caught on camera. Her face crumpled. Ryan, please. I made a mistake. I got too close to him. I know that. But I didn't. You never slept with him. Fine. I believe you. I sat down across from her, the table of silver frames between us. But you wanted to. That's what those texts show. You emotionally cheated on me for 7 months with a married man, and the only reason it didn't become physical is because he was moving to London. That's not... And before Derek, there was Blake Thompson. 5 months. Room 412 at the Marriott. That one was physical. Very physical, based on the messages. She froze. How did you... The burner phone. The one you thought you'd hidden so well in your gym bag. I found it 3 months ago. I've been sitting on that information, waiting to see what else you were hiding. I leaned back. Turns out, quite a lot. 3 months, she whispered. You've known for 3 months and you didn't say anything? I was being thorough, making sure I had everything documented, all the evidence I needed for the divorce. I gestured to the frames. And collecting marital assets that I wanted to keep. Her phone rang again. This time she answered. Hello? Her voice was small. Yes, Melanie. Yes, I saw the email. I can explain. She listened, her face getting paler. Monday morning. Yes, I understand. 9 a.m. I'll be there. She hung up, looked at me. They're launching an investigation, she said. Into whether I violated the workplace relationship policy. Derek, too. They've already contacted his wife to confirm she received the email. Workplace relationship policy, I mused. That's the one that requires disclosure of any romantic or intimate relationships between employees, right? To prevent conflicts of interest and favoritism? We weren't in a relationship. No, but you were having an emotional affair that you failed to disclose. And the optics of those photos, combined with the expensive gift purchased with marital funds. I shrugged. HR tends to err on the side of caution with these things. especially when one party is married and the other is a senior creative director who just got a very lucrative London transfer. They might rescind his transfer, Jessica said, the realization hitting her. If they think there was impropriety, they could pull the London offer. Could they? I hadn't actually considered that possibility. That would be unfortunate for Derek and his wife and his 2 kids who were probably excited about the move. Jessica stood up abruptly. You're destroying his life, his family, over something that never even happened. I'm not destroying anything. I'm providing information that should have been disclosed months ago. What HR does with that information is their decision. I stood too, facing her across the table. And as for his family, you didn't seem too concerned about them when you were texting him about how much you'd miss him, or when you were buying him gifts, or when you were hugging him at that party like you couldn't bear to let go. I made a mistake. You made several mistakes. Blake Thompson was a mistake. Derek Lawson was a mistake. Thinking I wouldn't find out was a mistake. I picked up one of the frames again. And the biggest mistake was thinking I'd just quietly accept it and move on. Her phone buzzed. Another text from Derek. We need to talk before Monday. This is spiraling. You should respond to that, I said. Let him know you won't be meeting him anywhere, because that's another thing HR is going to be watching for. Any attempt to coordinate stories before the investigation. I hate you, she said, and there was real venom in it. No, you don't. You hate that you got caught. There's a difference. I walked toward the hallway, toward the stairs. I'm going to bed. You can sleep in the guest room. Or don't sleep. I don't really care. But tomorrow morning, you're going to pack a bag and stay somewhere else until the divorce is finalized. This is my house, too. And Patricia is filing paperwork on Monday requesting exclusive occupancy during the divorce proceedings. Given your documented affairs, plural, and the emotional distress you've caused, she thinks we have a strong case. I paused on the stairs. Oh, and those party favors? I'm having them picked up tomorrow afternoon. Storage unit, just in case you get any ideas about making them disappear. I didn't wait for her response. I climbed the stairs, went into our bedroom, my bedroom now, and locked the door. My phone buzzed. Text from Patricia Winters. Saw the email. Bold move. Call me Monday morning before 8. I texted back, will do. Then I pulled up the banking app, confirmed the $32,000 was still safely in the separate account. Added a note to transfer another $15,000 on Monday before Jessica thought to freeze anything. Downstairs, I could hear her crying. Talking on the phone to someone, probably her mother or her sister. I didn't care. I'd spent 3 months being methodical, being patient, gathering evidence. Now it was time to be thorough about the ending. The doorbell rang at 8:47 a.m. on Saturday morning. I'd been awake for 3 hours already, sitting in my home office with my second cup of coffee, watching my phone light up with notifications. 37 emails since midnight. The office distribution list was alive and well, apparently, even on weekends. I ignored the doorbell. Probably a delivery driver. It rang again. Then again. Then someone started pounding. Ryan, open the door. I know you're in there. I recognized the voice. Derek Lawson. This should be interesting. I took my time walking to the front door, coffee mug still in hand. Through the peephole, I could see him. Rumpled dress shirt, no tie, hair that looked like he'd been running his hands through it for hours. His jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscle twitching from here. I opened the door but left the security chain engaged. Can I help you? You know exactly why I'm here. His voice was rough, strained. That email, those photos. That wasn't... You made it look like something it wasn't. Did I? Seemed pretty straightforward to me. Coworker hugs at a farewell party. Your wife seemed to find them interesting too. How is Amanda, by the way? His face went white, then red. You sent that to my wife's work email. Do you have any idea what you've done? I sent it to the office distribution list. Not my fault if your wife happens to work for the parent company. I took a sip of coffee. Though I have to say the timing was unfortunate for you. Wasn't she supposed to fly to London next week to look at flats? She canceled the trip. His voice cracked. She's talking to a solicitor. The London transfer, HR put it on hold pending the investigation. Do you understand what that means? That job was everything. It was our fresh start. Funny, Jessica and I were supposed to have a fresh start too. New house, 3 years ago. Remember helping us move in? You brought beer. Nothing happened between us. He pressed closer to the door gap. I swear to God, Ryan, we talked. That's it. We talked about books and art and how her husband was boring. How she deserved someone who understood her creative side. How you two had this special connection. I rattled off the phrases I'd memorized from their message thread. Sound familiar? He flinched. You've been monitoring her phone. Her work phone. The one the company owns? The one she used to send you 43 messages during business hours last month alone. HR found that part particularly interesting. This is insane. You're destroying people's lives over conversations, over hugs at a party. Am I? Or did you and Jessica do that yourselves? I set my coffee mug on the hall table. Here's what I find interesting, Derek. You're not here defending Jessica. You're here worried about your job and your wife and your London transfer. Not once have you asked how she's doing. His mouth opened, then closed. That's what I thought. You wanted the fantasy. The intellectual connection with the beautiful woman who made you feel young and creative again. You gotta be the sensitive artist while I was home being the boring provider. But now it's real-world consequences time, and suddenly you're at my door trying to negotiate. What do you want? His shoulders sagged. Money? I'll pay you. Just tell HR it was a misunderstanding. Tell them you misinterpreted. You think this is about money? I almost laughed. I'm a financial analyst, Derek. I make good money. I don't need yours. Then what? What will it take for you to fix this? Fix it? There's nothing to fix. I sent factual information to the appropriate parties. Photos from a company event. A timeline of workplace communications. If HR finds policy violations, that's between you and them. You manipulated the context. Those annotations, the way you arranged the photos. Accurate timestamps. Accurate captions. Your arm around my wife at 9:47 p.m. Your hand on her waist at 10:13 p.m. Her head on your shoulder at 10:52 p.m. Which part is inaccurate? He slumped against the doorframe. Please, I'm begging you. My marriage. Is that what we're calling it now? Because from where I'm standing, you didn't seem too concerned about marriage when you were telling my wife she deserved better than me. I never said that. October 4th, 2:17 p.m. Someone as vibrant as you shouldn't feel diminished. October 9th, 4:32 p.m. He doesn't see the real you, does he? October. Stop, his voice broke. Just stop. We stood there in silence. Through the gap in the door, I could see his eyes were red-rimmed. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Good. Amanda wants to know if it was physical, he said finally. She keeps asking, over and over, was it physical? And what did you tell her? The truth. That I never. He swallowed hard. But she doesn't believe me. She saw those photos. The way Jessica was looking at me. The way I was holding her. Probably should have thought about that before you became her emotional support system while I was working 60-hour weeks to pay for the house she wanted. I didn't know she was. I thought you two were having problems. She made it sound like what? Like we were basically over? Like I was some obstacle to her happiness? I shook my head. Let me guess. She told you I didn't understand her. That we'd grown apart. That she felt alone even when we were together. His silence was answer enough. Here's something interesting about Jessica. She's very good at making people feel special, like they're the only one who really gets her. Blake thought he was special too, until I showed him the messages she was sending you while she was still sleeping with him. Derek's head snapped up. Blake? Blake Thompson? 5 months, March through August. Room 412 at the downtown Marriott, usually Thursday afternoons, sometimes Tuesdays if his schedule allowed. I watched his face cycle through shock, denial, anger. She didn't mention that part during your deep, meaningful conversations? You're lying. Am I? Ask Blake. Or better yet, ask Jessica. Though fair warning, she's not great with the truth when cornered. He backed away from the door, stumbling slightly on the porch steps. We were just friends. Right. Friends who hold each other at parties. Friends who message 43 times a month. Friends who make each other feel seen and understood and special. I started to close the door. Enjoy the investigation, Derek. I hear HR is very thorough. Wait. He grabbed the doorframe. What about Jessica? What's going to happen to her? That's between her and HR, and her and me, and her and Patricia Winters, who's an excellent divorce attorney if you find yourself needing a recommendation. You're really divorcing her. I really am. Over conversations, over emotional, over betrayal, I cut him off. Over choosing to build an intimate relationship with another man while lying to my face every single day. Over making me feel crazy for noticing she was distant. Over gasping me into thinking I was the problem. I met his eyes. Physical, emotional, doesn't matter. She broke our marriage. You helped. Now you both get to live with the consequences. I loved my wife. His voice was barely a whisper. I love Amanda. I never meant, neither did Jessica, apparently. Funny how that works. I closed the door. Through the wood, I could hear him standing there for another minute, maybe 2. Then footsteps retreating down the walkway, a car door slamming, an engine starting. I picked up my coffee mug and walked back to my office. 39 emails now. 2 from Patricia's office, 1 confirming Monday's meeting, 1 with a revised asset list that included the picture frames. 3 from unknown addresses that were probably reporters. The office drama was apparently juicy enough to attract attention. And 1 from Jessica's work email, sent at 8:23 a.m. Subject line, please. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I archived it unread and opened Patricia's asset list instead. The party favors were officially mine. 60 silver frames, appraised value $2,520. I wondered if Derek would be able to afford new wedding photos for Amanda when this was all over. Probably not, if his London transfer fell through. My phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. This is Amanda Lawson. We need to talk. I saved the number and poured myself another cup of coffee. It was going to be a long weekend. The email from Amanda Lawson sat in my inbox for 3 days before I touched it. Subject line, we should talk. I stared at it during my morning coffee, during lunch, during the mindless hours I spent pretending to analyze spreadsheets, while my marriage disintegrated in real time across town. Jessica had moved into her sister's apartment in Brooklyn. The house felt cavernous without her, though I'd changed the locks within 48 hours of Derek's visit. On Thursday evening, I finally opened it. Ryan. I imagine you're surprised to hear from me. I'm surprised to be writing this. Derek told me about your conversation. All of it. The timeline you sent wasn't news to me. I'd found their messages 2 weeks before you sent them. I was trying to decide what to do when your email arrived and made the decision for me. I'm not angry with you. You didn't know I existed, but I think we might be able to help each other. There's a coffee shop called Grounds on West 72nd. I'll be there Saturday at 2 p.m. if you want to talk. If not, I understand. Amanda. I read it 4 times looking for the trap. the hidden agenda, the lawsuit waiting to happen. Patricia had warned me about contact with other parties. Let the lawyers handle communication, she'd said during our last call. Nothing good comes from getting personally involved with the other spouse. But Amanda wasn't the other spouse. Not really. We were both the betrayed parties in this particular disaster. And something in her email's measured tone, the acknowledgement that I hadn't known she existed, the lack of blame, made me curious. Saturday afternoon found me on the one train heading into Manhattan, watching Brooklyn disappear behind me. The irony wasn't lost on me. Jessica was somewhere in that borough, probably crafting her narrative about how our marriage had been troubled for years, how she'd just been looking for connection, how I'd never understood her. The coffee shop was tucked between a bodega and a dry cleaner, the kind of place that survived on neighborhood regulars rather than tourist traffic. I spotted Amanda immediately. Derek had a framed photo on his desk that I'd seen in the background of one of Jessica's office party pictures. Dark hair pulled back, sharp features, the kind of professional polish that came from years in corporate America. She was already seated at a corner table, 2 cups of coffee in front of her. "Black, right?" she said as I approached. "Derek mentioned you take it black. One of those details that stuck." I sat down, studying her face for signs of what this was. Anger, grief, calculation. But she just looked tired. "Thank you for coming," she said. "I wasn't sure you would. I wasn't sure I should." "Smart." She took a sip of her coffee. "My lawyer told me not to contact you. Said it could complicate things." Mine said the same thing. And yet here we are. A ghost of a smile crossed her face. 2 people who apparently don't follow good advice. The coffee was decent. Better than the sludge I'd been drinking at home. I waited for her to explain why we were here, why she'd risked her lawyer's disapproval to arrange this meeting. "Derek's transfer is officially canceled," she said finally. "HR made the call yesterday. They're citing the investigation, but we both know what it really is. The parent company doesn't want the liability of promoting someone under review for workplace relationship violations." "I heard rumors," I said. "Didn't know it was confirmed." "It's confirmed. 7 years he's been angling for that position. 7 years of networking and late nights and kissing the right people's—" She stopped herself. "Well, not just metaphorically, apparently." I didn't laugh. Neither did she. "He's devastated," Amanda continued. "Not about us, about the job. That's what finally made everything clear. He cried more about losing London than he did about losing his family." "Are you divorcing him?" "Yes." No hesitation. "Filed on Wednesday. He's staying at his brother's place in Queens. The kids think it's temporary. They're 8 and 6. How do you explain to an 8-year-old that daddy loved his career and his coworker more than he loved coming home?" The bitterness in her voice was familiar. I heard it in my own internal monologue every time I thought about Jessica's hands on Derek's shoulders in those party photos, her smile in the background of office selfies, the casual intimacy that had been invisible to me until it wasn't. "You said we could help each other," I said. "How?" Amanda pulled out her phone, tapped a few times, then slid it across the table. "Jessica sent Derek a package. Arrived at our apartment 2 days ago. Derek wasn't there, so I opened it." The screen showed a photograph of a gift box. Inside, nestled in tissue paper, was a leather journal with Derek's initials embossed on the cover. And underneath, a handwritten note on cream-colored stationery. "For all the words we never got to say in person. For London, for us, for the future we deserved. I'll wait for you. Jay." My stomach went cold. "There's more," Amanda said, taking the phone back and scrolling. She sent it to our home address, not his office, not his brother's place, our home, where our children live. When did she send this? Postmarked Tuesday, 2 days after Derek's transfer was canceled, 3 days after you sent that timeline to the office. I sat back, processing. Jessica had sent this after everything exploded, after HR launched their investigation, after Derek's career imploded and his marriage shattered. She'd send it anyway, still chasing whatever fantasy she'd built in her head about their future together. Did Derek know it was coming? He claims no, says they haven't been in contact since your email went out. But here's the thing. Amanda leaned forward. I don't believe him. And I don't think you believe Jessica when she says it was just emotional with Derek. She was right. I didn't. I've been going through our financial records, Amanda continued. Credit card statements, bank accounts, everything. Derek took a personal day on April 16th, told me he had a dental appointment, but there's a charge on our Amex that day for the Refinery Hotel in Midtown. $247. April 16th. I pulled out my phone, opened the calendar where I'd been documenting everything. Jessica had told me she was working late that night. Strategy session for a new client pitch. What time was the charge? 2:17 p.m. check-in time. I scrolled through my archive of Jessica's text messages, the ones I'd recovered from her iCloud backup before she'd thought to change her password. Found April 16th. Running late tonight. Client presentation prep is taken forever. Don't wait up. Love you. Sent at 6:43 p.m., 3.5 hours after Derek checked into the Refinery Hotel. She told me she was at the office, I said quietly. Amanda nodded. Derek told me he was getting a crown replaced. We sat in silence, the implications settling over us like fallout. It hadn't been just emotional. It had never been just emotional. Jessica had lied about Blake, and she'd lied about Derek, and the only difference was that I'd found proof of one before I'd found proof of the other. I have hotel records going back to March, Amanda said. 4 different hotels. Always personal days for Derek, always working late in Jessica's calendar based on what Derek told me about their conversations. I can send you the documentation. Why? Because your wife is still trying to contact my husband. Because she's sending gifts to my home where my children live. Because… Amanda's composure cracked slightly. Because I want her to lose everything the way I'm losing everything. And I think you want the same thing. She wasn't wrong. What are you proposing? I give you my documentation. You give me yours. We build a complete timeline of their affair, physical and emotional. We share it with our respective attorneys. And we make sure that when this is over, neither Derek nor Jessica walks away thinking they're victims in this story. I thought about Patricia's warning, about staying in my lane, about letting the lawyers handle everything. Then I thought about that journal with Derek's initials, about Jessica's note promising to wait for him, about the future they thought they deserved while destroying the ones they'd already built. Send me what you have, I said. I'll do the same. Amanda's smile was sharp and humorless. I'll email it tonight. We finished our coffee in silence, 2 strangers bound together by betrayal, planning our careful dismantling of the people who'd promised to love us. When I got home, there was a package on my doorstep. Plain brown shipping box, no return address. Inside, wrapped in bubble wrap, were 60 silver party favors, the ones Jessica's lawyer had demanded I return. Attached was a note in Jessica's handwriting. Take them. I don't want anything that reminds me of that office anymore. I carried the box inside and added it to my documentation file. Evidence of everything she was willing to throw away. My phone buzzed. Email from Amanda. Subject line. April-August. Complete timeline with receipts. I opened it and started reading. The package arrived at my doorstep 3 days after Amanda and I met. Plain brown cardboard. No return address. Heavy enough that the delivery guy actually waited to make sure I grabbed it before he drove off. I knew what it was before I opened it. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper that still smelled faintly of Jessica's perfume, were the 60 silver picture frames. each one carefully nested, protected with bubble wrap, arranged with the kind of meticulous care Jessica used to organize her closet. A post-it note stuck to the top frame, her handwriting looping across the yellow paper. "You were right. I don't need these anymore." I set the box on the kitchen counter and stared at it for a solid 5 minutes. She'd fought me for these frames. Actual tears in Patricia's office when I'd suggested we split the wedding gifts down the middle. "They're from my friends," she'd said, voice breaking in that way that used to make me want to fix everything. "They mean something to me." Now they sat in my kitchen, returned like defective merchandise. My phone buzzed. "Amanda." Derek moved out last night, took his clothes and his laptop, left everything else. "The kids keep asking when Daddy's coming home." I typed back, "I'm sorry." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Don't be. Better they learn now that people lie. I looked at the box of frames again. 60 identical silver rectangles that were supposed to hold memories of the best day of our lives. Jessica had spent hours at the party making sure everyone took a photo in the booth we'd rented, handing out these frames like party favors, like proof that we were the kind of couple who did things right. The kind of couple who lasted. My laptop chimed from the living room, an email notification that cut through the silence. I left the frames on the counter and went to check. From Human Resources. Subject: Investigation Update. Confidential. Mr. Mitchell, this email confirms that our investigation into the workplace conduct complaint you filed has been completed. We have concluded our interviews and document review. While we cannot share specific disciplinary actions due to privacy policies, we can confirm that appropriate measures have been taken in accordance with company policy. We also want to inform you that Mrs. Jessica Mitchell has submitted her resignation, effective immediately. She will not be returning to the office. If you have any questions, please contact our office directly. Regards, Brenda Walsh, Director of Human Resources. I read it twice, then a third time. Jessica had quit. Not fired, quit. Probably part of some agreement where she got to save face, walk away with her dignity intact, instead of being escorted out by security. The kind of deal companies make when they want to avoid lawsuits and bad publicity. My phone rang. Patricia. "Did you see the email from HR?" she asked, skipping the pleasantries. "Just read it." "Good. I also received notice that Jessica's attorney wants to expedite the divorce proceedings. They're proposing a settlement conference for next week." I walked to the window, looked out at the street where nothing had changed. Same houses, same cars, same mailboxes lined up like soldiers. Why the rush? My guess? She wants this over before more comes out. The HR investigation probably scared her. If there are other affairs we don't know about yet, other people who might talk. She wants to close this down fast. What kind of settlement are they proposing? Papers rustled on her end. 50-50 split of marital assets. She keeps her car and retirement account, you keep yours. House goes on the market, proceeds divided equally. She's waiving spousal support. That's reasonable. Too reasonable, Patricia said, which makes me suspicious. People don't give up leverage unless they're protecting something bigger. I want to dig deeper before we agree to anything. What are you thinking? I'm thinking that a woman who maintained 2 affairs simultaneously, who bought a burner phone and rented hotel rooms on a regular basis, probably has financial secrets too. Hidden accounts, cash withdrawals, credit cards you don't know about. Give me a week to subpoena her banking records. I thought about the frames on my counter, the resignation email, Jessica's sudden eagerness to end this quickly and quietly. Do it, I said. One more thing. Patricia's voice shifted, got that careful tone lawyers use when they're about to deliver bad news. Derek Lawson's attorney contacted me. He wants to discuss your distribution of private photographs. My stomach tightened. What about it? He's claiming harassment. Says you had no right to send those images to his employer or his wife. He's threatening to file a restraining order and possibly pursue civil action for intentional infliction of emotional distress. I sent workplace photos to their workplace. Nothing in those pictures was private. I know. And his case is weak. Everything you sent was taken at a company event, in a public setting. But he's angry and he's lashing out. Just be prepared for some legal posturing. After we hung up, I opened my laptop and pulled up the folder where I'd saved everything. Hundreds of files now, organized by date and source. Blake's texts, Derek's emails, hotel receipts, credit card statements, the farewell party photos that started this whole second wave. And there, in a subfolder I'd created last week, the complete timeline Amanda and I had built together. March 15th, first text from Blake. Had fun at the conference. March 22nd, first hotel receipt. Room 412, Marriott downtown, April through August. Regular Thursday meetings, always the same room. September 3rd, last text from Blake. This was fun, but I'm seeing someone seriously now. Take care. September 10th, first flirty email from Derek. Your presentation today was brilliant. September 18th, office happy hour. Photo of Jessica and Derek, heads close together, laughing. October through March, escalating emotional intimacy. Late night texts. Thinking about you messages. Planning sessions that ran long. March 8th, Derek's promotion announced. Transfer to London office. March 15th, farewell party. The photos. The lingering hugs. March 20th, Jessica's package to Derek's London address, intercepted by Amanda. 1 year, 2 men. And those were just the ones I knew about. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. This is Derek. We need to talk. Meet me at Baker Park, the north entrance, tomorrow at noon. Come alone. I stared at the message. Every instinct I had. The same instincts that made me a good analyst, that made me back up files and read the fine print, told me not to go. Meeting an angry man alone in a park was the kind of stupid decision that ended badly. But I also wanted to hear what he had to say. Wanted to see his face when he tried to justify what he'd done. Wanted to understand how a man with a wife and 2 kids could look at himself in the mirror after destroying his family for someone else's wife. I typed back, I'll be there. Then I forwarded the message to Patricia with a note. If something happens to me, start here. The next morning, I packed the box of silver frames into my car. Drove them to Goodwill and watched the donation attendant wheel them away on a cart. 60 identical rectangles that would end up scattered across the city, holding other people's memories, other people's lies. The attendant handed me a receipt for tax purposes. Big donation, he said. Moving? Something like that. Baker Park at noon was exactly what I expected. Joggers on the path, a couple of mothers with strollers, an old man feeding pigeons near the fountain. Derek stood by the north entrance, hands shoved in his jacket pockets, looking like he hadn't slept in days. I parked and walked over. Kept my distance, stayed in clear view of the joggers and the mothers and anyone else who might be watching. Thanks for coming, he said. You've got 5 minutes? He looked at me, really looked, and I saw something I hadn't expected. Genuine misery. Not the calculated charm from the party photos, not the confident smile from his LinkedIn profile. Just exhaustion and regret. I need you to know something, he said, about Jessica, about all of this. I know everything I need to know. No. He shook his head. You don't. And before this goes any further, before the lawyers and the divorce and whatever else happens, you deserve to know the truth. I waited. There were others, Derek said quietly. Before me, before Blake. Jessica told me about them when we started, when things got serious between us. She said you didn't satisfy her, that you were boring, predictable, that she'd been looking for something more for years. The words hit like physical blows, but I kept my face neutral. How many others? She didn't give me names, just said there had been a few. Guys from the gym, someone from her book club. She made it sound like you knew, like you had some kind of arrangement. We didn't. I know that now. He looked away toward the fountain. Amanda showed me everything, the timeline you two built. I realized Jessica had been lying to me the same way she'd been lying to you. There was no future for us. There never was. I was just next in line. I stood in the empty house on a Thursday afternoon in late September, watching the last of the furniture disappear into the moving truck. The buyers were scheduled to close next week, a young couple with a toddler and another baby on the way, the kind of family Jessica and I had talked about becoming someday. The divorce had finalized 3 weeks earlier. Patricia had been right about the hidden accounts. Jessica had been siphoning money for 2 years, nearly $18,000 squirreled away in an account under her maiden name. When confronted with the evidence, she'd stopped fighting. Signed everything. Walked away with less than half of what she'd originally demanded. Derek's lawsuit never materialized. His attorney had quietly dropped it after Amanda's lawyer pointed out that Derek's own text messages, the ones where he'd called me a clueless husband and joked about what Jessica really needed, would make excellent exhibits in a countersuit. I'd heard through mutual acquaintances that Derek and Amanda's divorce had been uglier than mine. Custody battles, accusations, the kind of scorched earth warfare that happens when children are involved. Derek had moved to Cleveland for a junior position at a smaller firm. Amanda had kept the house, the kids, and most of their savings. Jessica had disappeared from social media entirely. No LinkedIn updates, no Instagram posts, nothing. The last I'd heard, she was working as a freelance consultant from her sister's apartment, taking whatever clients she could find. The marketing industry in New York was small, and word traveled fast about why she'd really left Creative Pulse. Blake Thompson had sent me an email 6 months ago. Short, awkward, apologizing for his role in everything. He'd gotten engaged to someone new, wanted to make amends before starting fresh. I deleted it without responding. Some things didn't deserve closure. The moving truck pulled away, leaving me alone in the echoing shell of what used to be our home. I walked through the empty rooms one last time. The kitchen where I'd shattered that wine glass, the bedroom where I'd found the burner phone, the office where I'd spent those early morning hours documenting everything. My phone buzzed. Amanda. Heard your house sold. Congratulations on closing that chapter. I typed back, how are the kids? Adjusting. Therapy helps. They ask about their dad sometimes. I tell them he made choices that hurt people, but that doesn't mean he didn't love them. That's generous. It's honest. People are complicated, even the ones who betray us. I locked the front door for the last time and dropped the keys in the lockbox for the realtor. My car was packed with the essentials I'd need for the furnished apartment I'd rented downtown. Closer to work, closer to the life I was building without Jessica's ghost haunting every corner. As I drove away, I thought about what Derek had told me that day in the park. About the others before Blake, before him. About how Jessica had been searching for something she couldn't name, filling an emptiness with the temporary high of new attention, new desire, new men who didn't know her well enough yet to be boring. I'd spent months being angry, months plotting revenge and documenting evidence and making sure everyone knew what she'd done. And it had worked. Jessica had lost her job, her reputation, her marriage, her financial security. I'd won every battle I'd set out to win. But sitting in traffic on the FDR, watching the city blur past, I realized something that Patricia had tried to tell me months ago. Winning hadn't fixed anything. Jessica was still broken, still searching, still running from whatever demons drove her to destroy everything she touched. And I was still the man who'd loved someone who didn't exist, who'd built a life with a fantasy and called it a marriage. The anger was still there, buried deep. Maybe it always would be, but it had company now, something that felt like pity or understanding or maybe just exhaustion. People lie, they cheat, they make promises they can't keep and break hearts they swore to protect. They choose comfort over honesty, excitement over loyalty, their own emptiness over someone else's trust. Jessica had done all of that. Derek had enabled it. Blake had participated in it. But at the end of the day, no amount of documentation or revenge or legal victories could change the fundamental truth. I'd spent 6 years loving someone who was never really there. And all the evidence in the world couldn't prove that I hadn't been partly blind because I'd wanted to be. My new apartment was on the 14th floor, with a view of the river and none of the memories. I unpacked my laptop first, out of habit, and found myself staring at the folder I'd labeled Evidence. Hundreds of files, thousands of screenshots, a complete archive of betrayal. I dragged the entire folder to the trash. Then I emptied it. Some truths didn't need to be preserved. Some stories were better left to fade. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from a number I didn't recognize. "Ryan, it's Jessica. I know I have no right to contact you. I just wanted to say I'm sorry, not for getting caught, for all of it. You deserved better than what I gave you. I hope you find it." I read it twice, then deleted it without responding. She was right. I had deserved better. But more importantly, I deserved to stop defining myself by what she'd taken and start building something from what remained. The sun was setting over the river, painting the water gold and crimson. I poured myself a drink, whiskey, neat, no wine glasses to shatter, and stood at the window watching the city transform in the dying light. Somewhere out there, Jessica was living with her choices. Derek was rebuilding in Cleveland. Amanda was raising 2 kids who'd learned too young that love wasn't always enough. Blake was planning a wedding, probably promising forever to someone new. And I was here, starting over at 34, carrying scars I hadn't asked for but couldn't deny. The truth I'd learned, the one that all the evidence and revenge and careful documentation had taught me, was simple and brutal. You can't control other people's choices. You can only control how you respond to them. I'd chosen revenge, and it had given me justice but not peace. It had proven I was right but not made me whole. Maybe that was the real lesson. Not that people can't be trusted, but that trust itself is always a gamble. You gather your evidence, protect yourself where you can, and hope that the person you're betting on is worth the risk. Jessica hadn't been. But someday, someone else might be. I raised my glass to the sunset, to endings and beginnings, to the messy truth that everyone's the villain in someone else's story. Then I turned away from the window and started unpacking my life.